Yeah, right.
But Arlie and Mark Smith were there.
Right.
Mark Smith won the thing, and Arlie was in the finals with him. And Rich Reimer performed very creditably, but he didn't make it into the finals.
And he was in the third pool, so it's hard to get up there anyway.
Yeah, only one guy got
only one
in.
guy goes up. So Arlie was still fencing foil the second year with Mark.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then he switched to
over,
epee
and then he switched
in
to
his
epee
junior year.
In his junior year, correct.
Let's go back to Johan's time. I know Johan talks about the times he used to go out and talk about fencing and fencing strategy and modern fencing as opposed to more traditional fencing. And I don't know if you remember any of those conversations.
Well, the conversations had a lot to do with the pay, because I already knew that the footwork for saber, for instance, would be different from a pay.
Right.
So you could lump foil and a pay together, sort of, except of course a pay you could rely on the remise.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas you couldn't do that with the foil.
Yeah.
So that took you had to hold that a little bit separately, and also the epee defensive move with the arm was also different from the foil move with the arm. Foil move with the arm, you can make a beat with your arm back here. Epee, if you made a move with your arm back here with the parry, and then you go to make the repost, you were going to get stuck by the counter attack on the way out.
Right. Right.
And so you had to bear those differences in mind. So, although I was working it out with Johan, he was concerned with the epee.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
His specialty, and I was concerned for the whole team.
Right.
And I couldn't get tracked into one and mix it up with the other.
Right. Yeah.
I had to keep them separate.
Right.
So our discussions were primarily on the epee and some foil. Right.
Johan mentions that you guys would talk about some issues of distance and tempo and who can control. I remember when I was training here, you always had emphasized, the complete control of distance that's necessary, and tempo, and issues like that. I don't know if you and Johan had discussed some of the subtleties of that.
Well, we did, and as a matter of fact, even Joe Levis got into some of the conversations.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Really, yes. That was quite interesting. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Sure. Because we would demonstrate to one another.
Actually, can you need this right now? Are you sure?
Yeah.
It won't be too long, about a half an hour or so.
Joe Levis even got into those conversations with us, because we would talk about how you could fake a move with the foot, you could fake a move with the hand, you could wiggle your blade. There were 3 different things you could work with and confuse the opponent. But it depended on what you saw the opponent react to. Was it the distance? Was it the change of tempo? Was it the sudden change of direction of a blade? And so we would work out these combinations and see what would happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just wouldn't see some of the moves. And if they didn't see the move, and you waited, what we found out was that if they didn't see the move, and you made it, and you hesitated, the opportunity to follow through with the move very often was lost, and you would have to resort to a second tactic all of a sudden. So you had to be able to read your opponent very carefully when you were studying them and seeing how you studied them first to see how they reacted. You could have a strong game, but if they also had an equally strong game, then you had to be able to change things.
Right.
And that's what I was emphasizing with the team as much as I could.
Right.
And I remember it took me quite a while to learn to do it with the saber, because I didn't have anybody to work with like Johan.
Yeah.
Like I did in the foil and Joe in the foil.
Yeah.
I could work with them in the foil and the epee, but I didn't have any mentor for myself for the saber.
Interesting.
And I still remember teaching my guys to make a fast beat cut with the saber, and the guys would come back to me and they'd say, "Gee, coach, I made the fast beat cut," but they would call it their parry riposte. Whoops. This happened several times before I caught on that they weren't beating the blade in the right place.
Yeah, I see. That's funny.
Right.
So, at the end of, so Johan sort of finished his year. Now, you guys went to did Johan go to the Nationals, the NCAAs?
Yes, he did. And he came in, he had a bad cold, he was ill.
Yeah.
And he came in third, I believe.
Third?
He made third place All-American. He should have won first place.
Yeah.
But he had a bad cold.
Yeah. Do you remember who won that year?
Gosh, I forget who won.
Yeah.
But Johan, if he had been at his best, he could have beaten everybody.
Yeah. And this was in foil.
And this was in foil, correct.
In his first year as a freshman.
Yeah. Very definitely.
So after Johan, so, we had a year when Johan was here, and there was a lot of interesting development of the team, sort of translated through Arlie and Rich, as well as your thoughts about it.
And Johan gave us a foundation that we continued to build on for the next 10 years anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The next year, Mark Smith showed up.
Correct.
As a freshman, right? And I don't know if you remember the first time you met Mark, or if you knew he was coming. Did you know he was?
I'd heard we were getting this. We were getting this black kid from New York who was pretty good.
Yeah.
He was considered pretty good.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't too impressed at the time. And I remember when Mark Smith first showed up, and he was able to win his bouts. He was obviously going to be on the varsity team from the very beginning, but his bouts weren't that. He didn't dominate that much at the time, although he did win.
Yeah.
And he came back after Christmas break, I remember, and I told him before Christmas break, fencing the way you do with the low line all the time, Mark, you're not going to win. Yeah, you'll get some hits in there, but you're not going for the major part of the target.
Yeah.
And he said, I can stop you any time if you keep on doing that. And we had a demonstration bout, and I beat him something like 5-2. And I said, now, if I can beat you like this, and I said, there's younger guys than me who can do the same thing to you unless you change your game. He says, yes, but my parry in 7 and 8, they amazed everybody down in New York.